March 3rd, 2007. I need you to hold that date in your mind before I say another word, because what happened in the sky on that night, a total lunar eclipse in Virgo, visible across all of Europe, all of Africa, and most of the Americas simultaneously, is the last time this eclipse family visited us. And on March 3rd, 2026, exactly 19 years later to the day, it came back. The same family of eclipses, the same Virgo energy, the same uncompromising lunar light sweeping across the Earth's shadow, turning the moon blood red over the Pacific, over North America, over Asia and Australia in the early hours of a Tuesday morning. And I need you to hear what I'm about to tell you, because what the sky delivered on March 3rd, 2026 carries a message that does not expire. And if you missed it live, you are not too late. The eclipse window is open through the new moon in Pisces on March 18th, and every word I'm about to say is for you right now.
I'm Luna Solano. I've been studying and reading the stars for 40 years. I have watched the Virgo-Pisces eclipse axis move through this world more times than I can count. And I can tell you with the certainty that only 4 decades of chart reading gives you. This eclipse, arriving as it does in the direct aftermath of the most significant planetary conjunction in modern astrological memory, is unlike anything I have witnessed before. This is why I had to record this today. This is why, when I pulled up the ephemeris and saw the date and the degree and everything surrounding it, I set down everything else I was doing, and I came here to talk to you. Because what the sky is saying right now cannot wait, and most people around you have no idea what just happened overhead. If you've been feeling lately like something enormous is completing, like a chapter is closing that you can feel in your body before you can name it in words, you are not imagining it. The stars confirm exactly what you've been sensing. And by the time we finish today, you will understand 3 life-changing truths that this eclipse has surfaced. Truths that have been forming underground in your life for months, possibly for years, and you will have a specific timed ritual to work with before the eclipse energy completes on March 18th. Stay with me, all of it matters. If this kind of deep, historically grounded astrological research is what you've been searching for, please subscribe now. I read every single comment. This community is why I keep showing up, and I want to be in your corner through everything the sky delivers this season. Let me give you the precise astronomical picture first, because I never want to speak in vague spiritual terms when I can speak in real, verifiable numbers. On March 3rd, 2026 at 11:33 Universal Time, which was 6:33 in the morning Eastern, 3:33 in the morning Pacific, the moon reached maximum totality at 12 degrees and 54 minutes of Virgo. The sun stood directly opposite at 12 degrees and 54 minutes of Pisces. Peak totality lasted 58 minutes. The blood moon was visible in its full red glory from Western North America, Australia, New Zealand, Eastern Asia, and across the Pacific. Over 2.5 billion people had the possibility of watching it from their own sky. This is not a small event. This is the last total lunar eclipse until New Year's Eve of 2028. For nearly 3 years, there will be no more blood moons. This was the one.
And the fact that it arrived on March 3rd, exactly 19 years after the 2007 eclipse in this same Saros family, is the kind of precision that I have spent 40 years learning to read. This eclipse belongs to Saros Series 133, one of the ancient families of eclipses that has been delivering its particular lesson through the centuries. Saros 133 has been active since 1557. It is now in the heart of its total eclipse phase, which will continue through 2278. Every 18 years and 11 days, this family returns with a similar geometry, a similar message, a similar depth of shadow. The last member of Saros 133 before this one was March 3rd, 2007, and the member before that was February 20th, 1988. These are the dates I want you to think back on. Not because history repeats precisely, but because eclipse families carry themes. and Saros 133 carries the theme of discernment under pressure, of sorting what is essential from what has merely accumulated, of the honest inventory that becomes possible and necessary when the full light of the moon sweeps across everything you have built and asks, what here is real? The Sabian symbol for 13 degrees of Virgo, the degree where this eclipse occurred, is a powerful statesman overcomes a state of political hysteria. I have sat with this image for 40 years, and I want to take you inside it carefully because it is not saying what it might appear to say on the surface. This is not a symbol about politicians. It is a symbol about the internal statesperson, the part of you that maintains clarity and purpose in the middle of surrounding chaos. The statesman in this image is not someone who avoids the hysteria. He stands inside it. He feels the pressure of it. He knows what is at stake, and he overcomes it, not through force, not through denial, but through the specific power of someone who knows what they are for, who has a clear enough sense of their own purpose that the noise cannot drown it out. That is the gift of this eclipse degree. In the midst of whatever has been loud and demanding and confusing in your life, in the middle of the hysteria, internal or external, the 13-degree Virgo eclipse asks, do you know what you are for? Can you find that clarity inside the noise? The opposing Sabian symbol is equally important, 13 degrees of Pisces, where the sun stood. A sword used in many battles is now in a museum. This is one of the most beautiful symbols in the entire Sabian collection, and I want to be very precise about what it means. The sword has served, it fought, it protected, it was wielded with courage in real battles, for real reasons over years and years and years. And now it lives in a museum, not because it failed, not because it was discarded, but because the battles it was made for are over. The sword is honored there. It is behind glass. It is seen for what it was, and it is no longer asked to cut. The Piscean invitation of this eclipse, through this symbol, is one of the most important things I can say to you. Some of the weapons you have been carrying, the defenses, the survival strategies, the ways of bracing yourself that served you genuinely and well through real battles in your past, are ready to come down from your hands and go up on the wall, not because you failed, because you survived, because the battles they were made for are finished. The eclipse is asking you to look at what you are still holding at the ready that was built for a war that has already ended. Now here is the layer that makes this particular eclipse unlike any in Saros 133 that I have witnessed in my lifetime. This eclipse did not arrive in a vacuum. 11 days before it, on February 20th, 2026, at 1647 Universal Time, Saturn and Neptune made their exact conjunction at 0 degrees and 45 minutes of Aries. 0 degrees, the Aries point, the world point, the absolute beginning of the entire zodiac. Two planets that have not been this close at this specific coordinate since 1702, the year the War of Spanish Succession was redrawing the map of Europe, and the 47 Ronin incident in Japan was forcing an entire civilization to ask what loyalty and duty actually mean when the structure that defined those terms has dissolved. I've been watching this for 40 years. Saturn and Neptune conjunctions happen approximately every 36 years, but at 0 Aries, at the world point, they are a civilizational event. The last conjunction I watched, in 1989 in Capricorn, brought down the Berlin Wall. It dissolved the Soviet Union. It revealed to hundreds of millions of people that the structure they had built their entire lives around was hollow at its center. That is what Saturn meeting Neptune does. It exposes the gap between what appears to be structurally solid and what actually is. And this time it did it at the first degree of the entire zodiac, not in the middle of a sign, not at a comfortable, established degree, at 0, at the very first breath. This total lunar eclipse at 12 degrees Virgo, arriving 11 days after that conjunction, is the first major lunar event in the new chapter that Saturn and Neptune just opened. It is the first time the full moon's unsparing, total light swept across the sky since the civilizational restructuring was announced. And the fact that it did this from Virgo, the sign of discernment, of functional reality, of what actually works versus what only appears to, is not an accident. The cosmos does not make scheduling errors. What the eclipse was doing is this. It brought the full illuminating power of the moon to bear on everything in the Virgo area of your life, your health, your daily work, your practical systems, your routines, the service you give and receive, and asked, with the unblinking honesty of the full moon and the particular precision of Virgo, do you know what you are for? And what are you still defending that no longer needs defending? The truth that surfaced under this eclipse was not new. It has been forming underground in you for months, probably for years. The eclipse doesn't create the truth, it illuminates it. And once illuminated, it cannot be unseen. Stay with me, because I want to give you the 3 specific life-changing truths that this eclipse has surfaced. These are not abstract spiritual principles. They are the 3 most precise and actionable things the cosmos communicated through this specific alignment on this specific date. And one of them, I promise you, is going to land somewhere in your chest with a recognition that goes beyond analysis. The first truth this eclipse surfaced I would name, the sword is ready to come down from your hands. I'm borrowing the Sabian language here deliberately, because it is the most precise way I know to say what I've been watching happen in chart after chart, in life after life. Across the years I've been doing this work, there are defenses you built, ways of holding yourself, ways of moving through the world, ways of keeping yourself safe, that were built in response to real conditions, real pain, real circumstances that genuinely required you to be braced, to be guarded, to be strategic about where you let people in and how much you let them see. I'm not saying those defenses were wrong. The sword served in real battles. I'm saying, do you still know which battles you are actually in? The eclipse at Saros 133 at 13 degrees Virgo is asking the most important version of a question that Virgo always asks, which is this still functional? Not is it justified? Is it functional? Is the way you are protecting yourself still serving the life you are actually living? Or has it started costing you things, closeness, openness, aliveness, that you would rather have? The signal that this truth surfaced in your life in the days around March 3rd, you may have felt a sudden weariness, not the tiredness that sleep fixes, but the tiredness of someone who has been braced for a long time and has become dimly aware that the bracing might be optional. That feeling is information. That is the eclipse showing you where the sword is heavy in your hands. What this means practically, you do not have to disarm yourself all at once. Virgo does nothing all at once. Virgo is the sign of the incremental, the methodical, the one step at a time. The eclipse is not asking for a grand gesture of vulnerability. It is asking for one honest moment of putting the sword down. One relationship, one conversation, one situation where you choose presence over protection and see what happens. The second truth is one I have been watching form in chart after chart across 40 years of practice, and it surfaces with particular power during Virgo eclipses. The internal statesperson is asking for clarity. Here's what I mean. The Sabian symbol at this eclipse degree, the powerful statesperson who overcomes political hysteria, is not a symbol about outer politics. It is a symbol about the capacity to function clearly in the middle of confusion. And the message of this eclipse is that the confusion, whatever form yours has been taking, is not going to resolve itself from the outside. The noise is not going to quiet down, and then you will be able to think. The statesperson overcomes the hysteria not by waiting for it to stop, but by finding the still point inside it and operating from there. Virgo is the sign that knows the difference between what is genuinely important and what is merely loud. And this eclipse, at this degree, in this week of this year is asking you to practice that discernment in a situation in your own life where you have been letting the loudness of something crowd out your own knowing. What do you actually know? Not what are you afraid of, not what is everyone else saying. What do you actually know about this situation? That is the statesperson speaking. That is what this eclipse degree asked you to trust, the signal. In the days surrounding this eclipse, you may have had a moment of unexpected clarity, a sudden quiet certainty about something you had been treating as much more complicated. That moment was real. It was the eclipse. Write it down if you haven't already, because Virgo eclipses deliver their most important messages in precisely those moments of quiet, the flash of knowing that arrives before the mind starts arguing with it. The third truth is the one that connects this eclipse most directly to what Saturn and Neptune opened at 0 degrees Aries 11 days before. The truth is this: the new chapter is not going to look like the last one, and that is the point. Here is why I say this so directly. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the world point ended a cycle that began in 1989. Everything that was built between 1989 and 2026, the structures, the assumptions, the ways of organizing life that felt reliable and fixed and permanent, is now in a process of honest reassessment, not collapse. Reassessment. Saturn meeting Neptune exposes the gap between what looks solid and what is. It does not destroy, it reveals. And the Virgo eclipse, arriving 11 days later, gave the full moon's light to that revelation in the most practical, functional, grounded way possible. What this means for your life is not an abstraction. In the specific area of your chart where Virgo lives, in the house that this eclipse illuminated, something completed. And the space that completion created is not empty, waiting to be filled with more of the same. It is prepared. It is the cleared ground that the new chapter requires. Virgo eclipses, in my experience, do their deepest work in the months that follow. The illumination happens at the eclipse. The integration, the real change in how you live, unfolds through the spring and summer as what the eclipse revealed becomes what you actually act on. Jupiter turned direct in Cancer on March 10th, just 7 days after this eclipse. I want you to hold that timing because it matters enormously. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer spent 4 months deepening the roots, building the internal foundation, strengthening the emotional and domestic infrastructure, creating the nourishment that the next chapter will require. Jupiter direct in Cancer is that foundation becoming functional, that nourishment becoming available, that preparation becoming something you can stand on. The eclipse clears. Jupiter builds. These two events, 7 days apart in March 2026, are working in concert to create the conditions for something that is genuinely more aligned, more nourishing, and more yours than what is completing. Now let me speak directly to the 3 signs most powerfully touched by this eclipse. Even if your sun sign isn't listed here, please check your rising sign. And if you don't know your rising sign, I encourage you to find out, because it gives me the most accurate picture of where this eclipse energy is landing in your individual life. For Virgo and Virgo rising, this eclipse fell in your first house, the house of self, body, and personal identity, the most intimate possible eclipse placement. The full moon illuminated you. Not a project, not a relationship, not a career situation. You, the way you have been presenting yourself. Whether the version of yourself that the world has been seeing is still the version that actually exists inside you. For Virgo, the eclipse degree is asking the question directly: do you know what you are for? Not what you do, what you are for. This is the identity refinement that this eclipse initiated. The action for Virgo through March 18th. One honest expression of the current version of yourself, not the historical one, not the one other people have expectations about. One moment of showing up as who you actually are now. For Pisces and Pisces rising, This eclipse activated your seventh house, the house of significant partnerships, the people who most directly mirror you back to yourself. The sword that is ready to come down from your hands. In Pisces' case, it is most often held up in your closest relationships, the way you have been protecting yourself inside intimacy, the thing you know, with the profound Piscean knowing that goes beyond analysis, that you have been softening in order to keep the peace or protect the other person or avoid the conversation that feels too large to survive. The eclipse already illuminated it. The action for Pisces through March 18th. Let the quiet knowing speak, not as accusation, not as ultimatum, as the honest presence that allows a real relationship to be real. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, the eclipse landed in your fourth house, the house of home, roots, private life, and the family patterns you were shaped by and continue to carry. Sagittarius lives on the horizon, always turned toward what is next, what is expanding, what is beyond. The fourth house eclipse asks you to turn around and look at the foundation, the condition of the ground beneath the expansion. What is there? What has been there for a long time, not quite examined? The statesperson energy of this eclipse degree is particularly relevant for Sagittarius. The clarity that is available inside the noise if you are willing to stop moving long enough to let it arrive. The action, one act of home tending before the new moon on March 18th. Physical, emotional, relational, your choice. One honest engagement with the foundation. Here is the ritual for this eclipse. I want to be specific about timing, because timing is where ritual becomes real. The eclipse peak was March 3rd at 11:33 Universal Time. We are now in the eclipse's integration window, which remains open through the new moon in Pisces on March 18th at 9:23 p.m. Eastern. That new moon falls at 28 degrees and 27 minutes of Pisces, the last degree before the Zodiac completes its full cycle. Everything you do in ritual between now and March 18th is working with eclipse energy that is still fully active. What you need, nothing elaborate, a white candle, a piece of paper and a pen, and a small bowl of water. Any bowl, any water. Light the candle, place the bowl of water to one side. Sit quietly for a moment and let yourself arrive in the space. Then take the paper and write 3 things. The first, where has the sword been heavy in your hands? What defense, what strategy, what way of holding yourself are you still carrying that was built for conditions that may have changed? Name it in one honest sentence, not a list, one specific thing. The second, what does the internal statesperson in you actually know right now? Not what are you afraid of, not what is everyone saying. What do you know? Write it down. One clear sentence of your own quiet knowing. The third, what is one quality, just one, of the chapter that is beginning? Not a wish list. One quality of life or relationship or self that belongs to what comes after the clearing. Fold the paper once toward your heart. Hold it in both hands and say out loud, clearly, with intention, I set down what I no longer need to carry. I trust what I actually know. I step forward into what is genuinely mine. Say it once. Mean it. Leave the paper beside the candle until it burns out, or you choose to extinguish it. Keep the paper through the fall eclipse season, September and October 2026. When you open it then, you will see what has integrated, what has shifted, what has been built in the space this eclipse created. The affirmation for the eclipse integration window to speak each morning through March 18th. I know what I am for. I release what I no longer need to defend. I trust what is growing in the cleared ground and what I most want you to carry from today. The 3 truths this eclipse surfaced. The sword is ready to come down from your hands, and you know which one. The internal statesperson in you has been quiet, but it has not been absent, and its knowing is more reliable than the noise around it, and the chapter that is completing was real and worthy of acknowledgement, and the space it is leaving is not empty. It is prepared, the eclipse cleared, Jupiter is building, Saturn and Neptune have opened the new era, and you, right here on the other side of the most significant total lunar eclipse until 2029, are standing in one of the most important threshold moments of the decade. I want to ask you something before I go, and I want you to answer it in the comments because I read every single one, and I respond when I can. Which of these three truths landed most specifically for you? Not which felt most important in the abstract, which one did you feel in your body as recognition? Tell me that, because the act of naming it, even briefly, even here in this community, is itself a form of the statesperson's clarity that this eclipse is asking for. You are not alone in this. You are navigating something real and significant, and you are navigating it with the awareness and the willingness that the cosmos rewards. The stars are not working against you. They never have been. Until next time, keep looking up. This is Luna Solano.